Corsi, and I'm here with Brian Mann. As you know, our August meeting is about rehabbing properties, so we're going to go through one of Brian's current projects he's working on up in Livingston, 22 Long Acre Drive.
I've been working in this area for more than 25 years, and so I have a network of realtors that feed me stuff. I don't send out any yellow letters, I don't do a lot of different things. And a lot of it comes from either wholesalers in the investment clubs or mostly from realtors that I know. This house, one of the realtors I bought property from before called me up and said she was listing it, and did I want to see it? I asked what the price was. She told me, and I said fine. I came over, looked at it, and bought it. It's still not listed. We closed on it about a month ago, and we're doing some renovations on it. Was planning on just wholesaling it off, but it didn't work out, so gonna have to do some renovations because it's a little too tough for so many people. So the area is good. Livingston is a very upper middle class town. These houses around here were built probably in like 1940 to 1950, and they're built as a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house, and a lot of people have expanded out. A lot of people have knocked them down and built 3,200 square foot houses on it, and they sell between $850,000 and $1 million, and the ones that are just fixed up nice. And this is a 5-bedroom, 2-bath house, and there's a bedroom on the first floor and 4 on the second floor. The one up the street, which is a 3-bedroom house and 3-bedroom, 1.5-bath house, just closed at $535,000. So we're going to fix this up a little bit and put it back on the market. So I know the pricing, and I have 3 different levels of renovation. One is what I'm planning on doing right now, which is just taking out the wall between the kitchen and this little family room back and opening the kitchen up, redoing the floors, painting all the walls. This was a hoarder house. She had so much stuff in here, you barely walk. She had been here a long time. She was a widow. Her last son graduated in June, so she wanted to move down to a retirement community. When she left here, she did. So, I know the renovation costs, and for just it needs central air and putting that in, redoing the kitchen, taking out the wall, opening that whole area up, painting everything, the floors, and that's probably going to be about $20,000 to $25,000 total. And that's just for one phase. There is a big deck in the back, and I was planning possibly on putting a family room where the deck is. So it's very easy to do because the pilings are already there. I don't have to do any excavation, no foundation footers or anything. It's already there. So, excuse me.
It's all the way down there.
So this pile of trash right here, I had 5 other piles since purchasing it this size or bigger. That's a bunch of junk she had in the house.
Wow.
And under the house, and in the basement, and in the attic and stuff. So she had a lot of different things. So most of the houses around here have been renovated with an addition in the back, a 4th bedroom or other bathrooms inside. So they're mostly nice, but some are just 75 years old, and they need a lot of work. But this one didn't need a lot of work, but needs some work. So the renovation for just doing what I'm doing is about $20,000 to $25,000, and then putting the addition on the back is another $25,000. And if I want to put a master bedroom above that, make a real glamorama flat palace, that'd be another $40,000 on top of that. Of course, you have to put an elaborate bathroom in, as well as a big cathedral ceiling in the bedroom and stuff. So, and the different price breaks. This one should sell for close to $6,000 when I get done with it. If I put a family room back, it'd be around $7,000, and if I did the master bedroom and bath on top of that, it would be $850 or so. Okay, I don't want to take the time to do that. I'd rather just get it cleaned up and get it sold.
How much the house across the street? How much is that going for?
That house, they're asking $450.
Okay.
It's a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house, and it is pretty much original. It's clean, but it's just original.
The floors were in terrible shape.
and the walls are in nasty shape. So we painted the walls, painted the ceiling, several coats, we put in crown molding around. The floor, they did the first coat of sanding. You can see the stains here. They had at least one big dog, and they had a big fish tank which leaked. And so these might have to be some wood replaced. But the guy who runs the company will be here on Monday to go over that. So it's a nice sized living room, and it's now looks much better than it did before.
Were these plaster walls, being that it's 75 years old? Or
It's a plastic coat.
It's a plastic coat, okay. Skin coat.
It's not sheetrock. They probably have the boards on there, and then they scum coat on top of the boards. It's not sheetrock.
Being the age of the house, have you ripped out all the old molding to avoid the lead paint issue?
No. They had changed a lot of the moldings when they replaced the windows. Fancy moldings that are not being taken off that I'll see about testing for lead and then encapsulating lead. I don't want to lose those big old moldings.
Any thoughts regarding putting in central air? Or
I have central air coming in.
Okay.
I'm putting in 2 zones, one in the attic for the second floor and one in the basement for the first floor. So that'll probably be in within the next 2 weeks. There's only one air conditioner in the whole house, which is not adequate for today's buyers. They just don't want to have that.
Yeah.
What will you project the cost to be for the central air?
Some $9,600. That's very good.
Both zones?
Who?
Both zones?
Everything.
Oh, okay.
It's a very low price. But once you're in the business for a while, you get good prices because you know how to work with the people who are there. The windows were replaced a few years ago, so they're nice Anderson windows, so it's a good deal. These are hot water radiator versus steam radiator, and I like these a lot. A lot of people don't like them because it has an old-fashioned look. But hot water radiator gives hot water floor radiant heat. This gives the second best heat because it's consistent and there's no steam. And when they put the central air in, if somebody wants to later on put it in a furnace in the air handler, they can do that. But I'm not doing that. I don't see any reason to do that.
Right, that would be a forced tire system.
They can see the forest tanks here.
So with the floors, you're just gonna refinish them?
Well,
After they're done
some
sanding?
of the boards might have to be changed.
Oh, the boards have to be
Depends
changed.
on where the head stains are.
Okay.
How bad they are.
Right.
If the stain
going
that I
dark?
use is an English walnut. It's a nice dark stain. Mismatched appliances, a white dishwasher and a black stove. So that would just get
Make it all uniform.
stainless steel. This
Yeah,
whole
that's-
wall and this floor is coming out. I'm going to have hardwood floors throughout the first floor instead of having the vinyl. We step into the other room. This wall is coming out. This closet is coming out. The kitchen will be from back over there coming around to here. Well, breakfast nook, family area, whatever. Just open space. So it'll start from here and be open. Now take some of the cabinets that don't fit anymore in the walls and make an island. I can make an island by just adding a 4-inch filler on the bottom. Gonna leave the stove where it is, get a different stove, sink where it is, and move the refrigerator over here, attach it here. So it'll be nice and open all throughout here. So it's very, very open.
By keeping the plumbing fixtures and the stove in the same location, you save a bunch of money because you don't have to replumb everything.
Again, these windows are Anderson windows. I'm going to take and move the back door from here over to here, take the window out. And take, well, if you see, go back over here. There's a 5th bedroom down here with its own bathroom. And it's not that large. Already taken out the sink and the toilet. And gonna be putting new ones in, redoing the walls and the floor. Yeah, people coming into town now, a lot of them are coming from other parts of the world and different groups. They like having family members, like grandparents, come and help take care of the kids while their parents are working. So they want to have a separate bedroom and bathroom for them on the first floor. Okay, I'm going to take this closet out, and where that little vestibule is for the back door, I'm going to make that the closet for this bedroom. Again, we don't know what somebody's wishes are as far as what they're going to use this as.
Right.
Maybe they're going to use it as an office, maybe they're going to use it for the older teenage kid, or maybe a nanny, whatever.
Right.
So until we know, I'm not going to change it. Again, this was totally covered in wallpaper, the entire house, the bathrooms, everything. So that's all been stripped off, all the old glue's been sanded down, and ready to be painted, and this has been painted. Closet's coming out, I told them don't paint, stop painting, and we're just gonna open this up. So it'll be a bigger bedroom when this closet's out, and the closet being over in the other area. Right now that's pine floor in there, and it's at a different level than the living room and kitchen. So it's gonna be raised up and leveled, so it's nice and level, and it's gonna come all the way through here. Okay, that floor in there, I might reuse it, and I might or might not, but it still has to be leveled up, because it was an old back porch, and so it tilts from the kitchen down to the outside. So it has to be leveled out and straightened out.
Gotcha.
Which is very common in all their houses. You're always going to find in the old houses, particularly when you go to front and back porches, that there's always a slant. Part of that was the idea was for water runoff, part of it is age and settlement. The deck.
So plan 2 was to take and build a family room over this deck, because it has concrete piers, and take this wall out. So it'd be a nice 25 by 25 family room. And then vault the ceiling for part of it.
Okay. Now, if you were to do that, what would you factor the cost to be?
$25,000.
To frame it and finish it. Now, what will that add to the price?
About $100,000.
Okay. So, do you think in this case it would be worth doing?
It'd be worth doing for somebody else, not for me. There was a board here, about 20 feet long, and it had a lot of rot in it, so we took that out and put another board in. It's a very thick paint. It's called deck over or something like that. And to do a master bedroom, maybe taking this room and just going above that and above that bedroom. It'd be like 25 by 30 room with a beautiful modern master bedroom. 2 sinks, a separate toilet room, and a big walk-in shower. No, that was just in case it...
Thanks, Dan.
I'm going to turn the air conditioning back on when we go upstairs. So there's 4 bedrooms up here, and 1 bathroom. This is the smallest bedroom.
It's a fan and a half for my kids when they were little.
You want a basement?
No. So Brian, what constitutes a bedroom in New Jersey legally?
You have to have a window and a closet. It has to be an egress window, which means people can get out in case of an emergency. If you have an older house that doesn't have an egress window, it's grandfathered in. But if you're building or remodeling a window, you have to make it an egress window. FHA allows you to put in an armoire and attach it to the wall, and it's a closet.
Really?
Really.
And you can see at one time in the 1950s, 1960s, they put in drop ceiling. This is when that ceiling came out.
Is there a minimum square footage?
For a bedroom, no. Here's the original master bedroom.
Who would be your target buyer for a house like this when it's fixed up? I'm talking about a
When it's fixed up,
Who is
well,
the end user?
the end user is probably a young family with kids. They could walk across the street. The grammar school is directly behind the house across the street, and the next house over has a walkway that goes directly to the school, so kids don't have to walk around the block. 200 feet in there.
If I am correct, Livingston has one of the highest rated school systems
And
in
the
New
next
Jersey.
school system is one of these I like working with.
Very good. Head of the class. That was the old telephone jack you'll find in most older houses like this. I usually take them out.
Yeah, just take it
Put them out
out.
and finish.
The bathroom up here can be totally gutted. The walls, the floors, the toilet and the sink and the bathtub, and new plumbing put in, make it nice and modern.
Now, why wouldn't you rip out the shower? I mean, rip out the tub and install a shower?
Well, again, I have small kids, so they want to have availability of having a tub for the kids to get bathed in.
Okay, very important. If you're rehabbing a house, always make sure, unless it's in an adult community, there's at least a bathtub, because young families want that to bathe their children. Are you ripping out the tub or just?
Got to rip out the tub,
Okay,
everything.
put a new one in.
Yeah, put a new one in. That's a couple $100. The toilet's $150. The vanity's going to be $300.
Okay.
Tiling for the floors, maybe. Yeah, it's probably a cement job on the floors, has to be ripped out and redone.
Are you retiling the walls?
Everything, the shower surround and everything, retiling it. So maybe a total, if I'm not changing the plumbing behind where the shower is, maybe $4,000. And this is a 5th bedroom. It has a closet, it has windows, egress windows. And it has knotty pine paneling, which has just been painted over, so it doesn't look like knotty pine anymore. So this is not going to be changed except for the bathroom, and we'll have central air conditioning. If I was going to do the 3rd phase, which is the master bedroom and bathroom, it'd be out over here. I'd probably bring the laundry room up here, have the bathroom back over here, great big, huge, gigantic bathroom, and have a vaulted ceiling in this whole area for the master bedroom. The hot water radiator is under that grill, but it faces the other room. They didn't want to take the window out, so they just left it there. You know, it's just like, this could have been a sleeping porch originally, could have been a lot of different things, but they left it there. I'm not taking that out. You know, if somebody wants to, they can, but I'm not doing that. It's going to look nice and clean, but it's not going to be changing the functionality of the 2 bedrooms. So all the light fixtures will be changed.
Brian, any idea how old the roof is?
It's not that bad. We pressure washed the roof, but we didn't do it right here. So it has to be done. It's going to pressure wash up here, just pressure wash it up here.
It's a great tip. If you have a roof that's in good shape, but stained or a little discolored, having the roof washed can make it look very, very good.
And there's an attic. There's a pull down stairs for the attic, but you really can't use that as a family room or bedroom. It's just not big enough. So it's just good for storage.
Yeah.
And that's where the air conditioner for the 2nd floor is going to be up there.
Right. So yeah, you're running one up and one down. That also keeps you from having to run different all the way up and down.
Yeah.
Which in an old house like this is very hard to do.
Well, I have an estimate for doing 1 unit for $7,500.
Right.
But I'd rather have 2 units. It's much more economical for the homeowners and people like that.
Right.
Always get a home inspection for everything. So you get a tank sweep. If there's an oil tank in the ground, you want that pulled. I don't care if you have insurance on it. It's very hard to insure and very hard to get somebody to go ahead and give title insurance on it too. So attorneys don't want to have them in the ground.
So what was the financing used to get the property?
It was a private lender, and I have a partner on this, and the deal was that he would obtain the private lender. He's doing most of the work with the different contract. He's here almost every day, taking care of stuff. I found the deal, I'm directing the deal, and you know, I have the contractors. I have you know, an architect that doesn't charge a lot of money. I have, like, the air conditioning guy. I don't know if we can get 2 air conditioning systems for a total of $9,600. It's just, I had a general contractor give me a price for doing everything. His price for the air conditioning 2 systems was $21,000. A lot of people will charge 13 or 14 for that same thing. So $9,600 is really good. And the floor guys are just great. I've used them for 20 years. And yeah, they'll come in and make the floors look perfect. I don't like radiator systems, and I'll rip them out. If they're a steam radiator, I'll rip them out and just close up where the radiators were and put in forced. But forced hot air has its problems because it's, number one, very dry in the wintertime. And number 2, people with allergies don't like it because, with kids with allergies, because it's just the dust all floats around constantly. I might put it on the back room back there, because I have a radiator right in the middle, so I have to move it around anyway, so I might just put it in, put it on the floor.
People usually do forced hot air because it's less expensive, number 1. And the other thing I recommend, if you do a forced hot air, to attach a humidifier built into it.
So in the wintertime, you're not going to dry out everything in your house. Your furniture shrinks, your floors shrink, everything shrinks. Because
What would motivate a realtor to not list it on the MLS?
I get a lot of stuff from sellers who are like hoarders and different things like that. They don't want them coming in their house. They're embarrassed about the way they live, so they don't want anybody coming in their house. So my offer to this lady was, I mean, nobody sold the house except myself and the realtor. And you know, I said, I will take care of anything you want to leave in the house, leave in the house. I'll get rid of it. And another thing is that I do it on their time frame. But I'll have the inspection right away, and I'll let them know if there's going to be any problem. And most retail sales of real estate, people come around and say, do you realize that there's a scratch in the glass right here and on the whole new window? I don't want you to go out on the whole new, and they could just beat up the sellers, number 1. Number 2, they won't take a house unless it's totally cleaned out. And a lot of people just can't handle that. You know, these are my kids' baby pictures, I can't throw them away and I can't keep them, you know.
He's solving their problem.
You know, they don't have the time, they don't have the energy, they don't have the wherewithal to do that. So every house is different. I had another house I bought and people didn't want people coming in the house. They were moving to Israel on August 11th and they wanted to close on August 11th with all their money. So you leave all the junk you want in the house, don't have to worry about that. We're closing on August 11th and nobody's gonna look at your house. Again, it was just chock full of stuff. There had to be like 1,000 albums, 33 and 30 albums, 40s and 50s, 60s.
Yeah, patching in the inside is simple as drywall and paint and spackle. The outside,
They
is
still
it,
have the same color siding.
okay,
So just getting one bundle or, well, we do the back, maybe I'll take the siding off of the back where the deck is, and because we're gonna have some patching to do with stuff. Just take that off there, patch this up and get a different color siding. Because if you have one wall this way and one wall this way, even if it's the same color, it never looks the same because of lighting. One will be dark, one will be light. You patch in a new version of the same color in a spot, you'll see that spot.
yeah.
If you take it off someplace else that has some weathering, you put it there, it's gonna be fine.
One of the tips you might use if the siding is in bad shape though, and you can patch and then paint over it. So you can make it all uniform if need be and save a lot of money potentially.
You can paint both aluminum siding and you can paint vinyl siding as well.
The key to painting vinyl is to paint it at least a shade lighter than the original color. Aluminum, you could go lighter or darker.
The outside of this house, the whole wall on that side was just totally, it looked like it had to be torn off. And we pressure washed it, it looks beautiful. At the roof, we had some problems, pressure washer. It has to be a light. You can't have the full force of the pressure washer on there, it's gonna rip all the little pebbles and stuff off there. So you have to do it gently, but all that stuff comes off.
Building a relationship with a realtor to get to that point, what's the best way to do that?
Just over the years. One of my marketing methods, which is different than a lot of people are taught, is I go around to the open houses for brokers during the week and on open houses on Sundays, Saturdays and Sundays, with the public, and I hand out my card. I'm just doing a small area, and for realtors that I know, I remind them that I'm still in the business. For realtors I don't know, I say, here's my card, I buy houses, fix them up, and sell them. So if you sell me a house, either it's your listing, somebody else's listing, or nobody's listing, a few months later you get the property back to sell. And the smart ones say, great, they keep my card and call me. The dumb ones just throw it away because they have no idea. I'm useless to them, you know. They don't know what they're missing.
Yep.
And somebody will call up and I'll see on my phone who it is. I say, hi, you're number 4. Oh, damn it. Because I let them know that the first one to call me is the one that gets the property to sell.
Yeah.
Because nobody can see everything and understand everything. There's some stuff that I recognize that's easy to do that can increase the value tremendously, and other people can't see that. So if the realtor can see that and understand maybe the owner situation, I had one house that I had talked to a realtor, and she said, oh, I do the same thing you do, I buy houses, fix them up, and resell, blah, 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 blah. I said, fine, but if you find something I'm interested in buying. And what I'm looking for is maybe a listing that was listed for a couple of years and just keeps on expiring. Oh, I have that listing, I don't have it anymore, but I had it. And they wanted too much money, and now it's down a little bit more reasonable, and I know they need to sell it. Fine, it was an estate sale. There were 3 siblings. The daughter was the executrix. There was a son living in Mexico. He had been a Vietnam wounded veteran, so he was down there living under this veterans thing. And another son living in the house. He was supposed to pay the taxes, didn't pay the taxes for years. So I was in jeopardy, and she said, I'll show you the house. So I go drive to the house to meet the realtor, and the sign on the front yard is a realtor I've been dealing with for 10 years earlier. And I called her and said, look, what happened? Oh, I forgot about you. People forget about it, forget it. So she picked it up, even though she said she does the same thing. But, I made good money on that.
When you hire contractors, on an hourly basis or for the job?
If I'm hiring a GC, I'll hire them for the job. A lot of times I'll hire a GC just to put their name on the permit, and I'll hire different subcontractors, electrician, plumber, whatever, to do the work. So it goes both ways depending on how busy they are, what skills need to be done to get it going and stuff. So major addition, I need a contractor to get in there and do most of the work. I'll pay the painters, X amount of dollars per hour or a day, whichever it is. And because I know that it's a lot cheaper doing that than hiring a painting contractor to come in. If you hire somebody, they say, I'll just paint over the wallpaper, say, time for you to leave.
Goodbye.
You have to, it takes a while, and if you're new, you're going to learn along the way.
One thing to factor in if you're looking at a house, as Brian just mentioned, with all that wallpaper, factor that into your rehab cost. That can get expensive and very time consuming. We have spent weeks ripping out wallpaper because unfortunately the person who installed it did a really good job and it was really tight, so it took weeks to get it down.
And there's different types of wallpaper. Some have a separate backing and then they have an overlay on that. They put it up in one piece, but you pull the wallpaper off and still the backing's on there, and sometimes the glue is just very, very pernicious. It's just going to stay on there. So you really have to either use a steaming mechanism or a chemical mechanism to get that off, or just sand the crap out of it. And then you still have to prep it. You have to prime it before you can paint it.
For you landlords, my favorite clause in my lease is absolutely, positively, that is in bold, huge print, no wallpapering allowed. And then when I meet with the people, I joke with them and say, that is upon pain of death. They laugh, I laugh, but I tell them I am dead serious. Absolutely no wallpapering in any of our houses.
I had one tenant years ago, and she stuck her head out the window as I was at another property, and she said, do you mind if I paint the kid's bedroom? Well, I knew where the kid's bedroom was, but she didn't tell me she'd move the kid's bedroom to another room, and it had beautiful paneling on it. I said, yeah, no, just paint it, just paint it. Just paint it white or some light color. Well, she totally ruined that paneling, just totally ruined it. I didn't check. What room are you talking about? What color are you painting it in?
Brian, on a house like this, if you had to replace the roof, what would you guess you would be looking at?
But just to do a roof, the other guy was great, but unfortunately he passed away. So I don't have a number for that. And it depends if you're just putting a roof on top of a roof, or you're doing architectural shingles versus the regular 3-tab. If it already has 2 layers of roofing on it, you have to rip all that stuff off. It might be rotten plywood. So I really can't give you a price because there's so many different factors.
One of the things Brian just mentioned about if you're putting another layer on, certain towns, and it may even be state law now, you're no longer allowed to go over a roof. Certain towns I work in, you have to literally rip the roof off.
Even if you have 1 layer of shingle?
They do not even allow a single. Wow. You have to now rip it off, which has its pluses. It's cost you a few dollars more, but you end up with a better product. Because a lot of times what will happen is if the weight of the old roof and the sheathing starts rotting, water will find a way and it will get in even if you put on a new roof. So we found it's better anyhow just to rip them off.
All right.
There's another $1,000, $1,500, but to me it's worth it
All right.
at that point.
Most of the roofing contractors will say, we'll give you X amount of square foot of wood replacement on the roof, and above that you're going to be paying X amount of dollars per square foot.
Right.
So you have to factor that in and figure out what kind of roof you want to put on there depending on the location of the property and what your use is for it. I use a home inspector because if I'm under contract to buy a house, I still have an emotional attachment to the house and my deal. So I'm like somebody who is totally neutral on that, and I always get a home inspection. I have a lot of times I'll use an inspector that will not give me a written report, and he charges me about half of what it would be if he had to sit down and write a report. And I don't care. He's going to tell me what's wrong, and I'm going to fix it anyway. And as I was talking about with it was Thomas Edison's son's house, it was for sale for about 8 years, and the people couldn't sell it. It was very picturesque, but it had a severe sagging problem in the floor of the dining room. And every time they get under contract, people get a home inspection, and the home inspector would convince them, either passively or aggressively, don't buy the house, you have problems. Well, there was one rotten beam about this big between the outside wall and the chimney fireplace there. It was because of the dining room jutted out from the back of that. So it was like this big, but it brought it out totally from termites. And a couple of things were sagging. And I brought my architect over there, and he's probably close to 80 years old. And we went down to the basement, and I got a really good price on the house. And we left our butts off because it was just one beam. And I was going to be taking out that wall anyway. I was going to be taking out that chimney anyway. And even if I had to just fix it, it probably wouldn't have been more than like $1,500. But these people were probably told by the inspector, oh, it's going to cost you maybe $20,000 or $40,000, some crazy number. That's, I mean, people just run away.
Wow.
So, you know, if you understand how inexpensive a lot of stuff is to fix, you have to do. Just as an aside, the retail price for so many different repairs is so outrageously high. If you're in the business, you have to hunt down through members of a different club or from somebody that you know, whatever, for retail versus wholesale contractors. My sister has like a 2,500 square foot house in California, and it's probably 20 years old and 25 years old. And she wanted to get some new windows. So she called in renewal by somebody or other. And they walked around the house with a clipboard, measuring. Okay, that'll be $95,000 to replace your windows. And she laughed at them. Fortunately, she laughed at them. And he said, well, how about if we do it for $65,000? How can you drop $30,000 on a serious offer like that? So she still has not gotten the windows because the windows probably for a good window for California for the earthquake kind of stuff, maybe $250 a window, $300 a window, another $100 to put it in. It should be maybe no more than $20,000 to do all the windows in the house.
When we have an inspection done, the three things we're really looking for: is there an oil tank? A company that's licensed, bonded, and has the insurance, and we will have them do a sweep. The other two things I'm looking for is if there's any termite damage. Most houses have it. I'm only really looking for serious damage. And the third thing would be the foundation. As Brian mentioned, a lot of foundation problems can be solved, so you just want to know exactly what the foundation problem is, because a lot of times you can do it a lot cheaper than people think, and that can be a great deal for you.
Oh, it smells moist down here.
How do you ever work in basements in
Okay, so we're in the basement, and if you look, the furnace is fairly new. The hot water heater is fairly new. The electric panel over there is circuit breakers, and it's 200 amp service. So it is all set up. This is nice. If you go to a house that has 60 amp service, and you have to upgrade it, it's going to be a couple $1,000. If the furnace is new, it could be $10,000, it could be $5,000. A water heater, I just put one in, it was $1,100. So another house, so that stuff can be pretty pricey. So it has nice old copper piping through here.
I noticed there was no asbestos on any of the pipes, which again
Well,
is
some
very
over here.
important.
But to me, it looks
There you go.
like it's actually fiberglass.
Okay.
If you look at it,
Right.
it's really
So what a lot of times people will do here is if they're worried about being asbestos, they will buy special tape. It looks kind of like duct tape, gray reflective tape, and they wrap it really good. In most towns, that's acceptable. Other towns say you have to rip it out, so you have to double check. One thing, Brian, I didn't notice here, when I'm looking at a furnace nearby, I always look to see if there's a hole in the wall, see if there was an oil line coming through.
So this is all going to be painted down here. All the cinder block and stuff will be painted. And we go in the other room. So this one is going to be painted as well. The pipes are going to be painted the same color as the wall. We're probably painting the ceiling. We made wood sheetrock up here. There was those 9x9 squares up here, and they were falling apart, so we took that down. So there'll be a little family room down here. We'll put some indoor-outdoor carpeting so the kids can play down here.
What's in there?
What's in there? We keep the dead bodies.
Oh,
Another clue for you guys, when you see where that's a newer furnace, you want to see if it was moved from another part of the basement. That's where you would look for the hole to see if there was an oil tank.
And also, if you look on the emergency shutoff, either switches up here or down next to the furnace. If they replace the furnace, it was an old oil burner, a lot of times the guy doing the installation won't change that little red plate. Let's have shut off oil burner. instead of gas furnace.
Right. And sometimes they'll tell you, oh, well, we just picked up one at the store and that was the only one they had. Okay.
That's a nice line.
Yeah, right, okay. So when you rip this out, where are you gonna use those cabinets?
They'll be going against this wall, the refrigerator's gonna be there, and the remaining cabinets will become an island. So it's gonna be a nice big open expanse. Well, wherever the edge of the thing is here, all the way to the end of the wall.
Gotcha. The radiator, which will be relocated where?
I'm gonna do, under the
Oh,
floor.
you're gonna do the radiant heat? Nice.
Yes,
How much is it to put a support beam in?
not a lot. It's, a few $100 for this, for the beam, and then the guys to put it in.
Then for the architect engineer to draw up your plans and stamp them, since you're doing something structural, how much was that?
Normally,
Oh, yeah.
they usually get about $5 a square foot, whatever the building, $5 a square foot. If you're gonna do demo, you have to get a demo permit, because they wanna make sure that if you take out any electric wires.
Now, question, if you had decided to become a landlord once again, and you were gonna keep this house as a rental,
Yes.
what would you have done differently as a rental rehab versus a,
Well, I would still take this
Fix
wall
up
out,
inside.
I'd still clean up the floors and all that stuff and paint it up. And probably get like $3,200 to $3,500 and paint the cabinets,
oh, kitchen cabinet?
kitchen cabinets, yeah.
Just like a white,
Huh?
white or
White
something?
off white, yeah,
Yeah.
white off white. And put in new appliances, stove and dishwasher, refrigerator, and get it for about $2,000. Nice stainless steel.
And the market rent around here would
Be
be
32 to 35.
32 to
For a 5-bedroom house, yeah.
Because you always have in the back of your mind, if the market suddenly flipped and got very soft on a resale, you may have to hold it for longer than you think. So you want to always have that backdoor strategy. I assume a certificate of occupancy is required in Livingston?
For rentals, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't think so.
How about for resale?
Oh, yeah, for resale. And basically what that is that they check the permits, that there's no open permits. And they come around and the fire inspector inspects for smoke detectors, fire detectors, carbon monoxide, and a fire extinguisher in the kitchen.
Yes, does yours have to be screwed to the wall? Your fire extinguisher?
I don't know.
See, we have to. So what would happen if you did not pull permits on this property and did the rehab, and then inspectors went back to their office and found out that there were open permits, or they saw something that should have required a permit, and they go back to their office and find out that no permit was pulled?
It depends on what it is. If there's something that could be hazardous, I took out the wall and didn't put a beam in, they could make you rip everything out and put the beam in. I bought a house in South Orange. The lady was a decorator and she had walls taken out with absolutely no support. No support at all. I don't know why it didn't fall in, I don't know. But I put in, columns and stuff like that. And
Always remember, find out what you need to pull a permit for from a particular town and make sure you pull it. Yes, it's costly, it can be a pain in the neck, but as Brian said, the alternative could be that they can make you rip everything out. So the project you spent thousands of dollars on, you could suddenly, all that money have gone to waste because you have to rip out what you did.
request from the town, an OPA report. That's not the lady who's on TV. That is an open permit records report, OPRA. And you get that with usually the town clerk, and it takes about 2 weeks, 10 days to 2 weeks to get the report back. It shows any open permits. So if it looks like everything's been done for decades, well, maybe we never had a permit, so maybe you're gonna be responsible for pulling the permit. Somebody did a nice family room in the basement with a wet bar and a bathroom. You have to rip everything out because they didn't pull a permit back in 1968.
Knotty Pine, they pulled them in Clifton. They made people pull out their Knotty Pine basements from the 1950s because they never pulled a permit, and that was 40 years later. They could require everything to be
Some
pulled out.
towns have their tax records as such, where they show an aerial photo of the house over the years, or a drawing of the house, the outline of the house. So if all of a sudden in 1972, there's like a big bump out in the back of the house, and it doesn't show any record of that, then they make you tear that down or do something like that.
Okay, just want to thank Brian for showing us around and hope you get a lot out of it, and remember all the great things he talked about when you're doing your own rehab project. Thanks, Brian.
When you're doing a rehab, know what the market is. Know what the market is to buy it, and know what the market is to sell it. Know who your target people are. You're going to fix a house up to accommodate and go for that market. You know, whatever it is, there's a demographic that's wanting to buy in that neighborhood, in that town, in that area, and go for that and know what it's going to be when it's fixed up. Don't just get it.